Gen 7, baby, yes! Rowlet time. He's a teensy bird, so I'm gonna win, is what I would say if he didn't fly and shoot knives with feet strong enough to knock out a grown adult. Come on! I hate to admit it, but this sleepy little owl is packing some real heat. Dartrix is a bigger Rowlet with Hawkeye precision. The dex acknowledges that it seldom misses, as well as it being insanely aware of your presence, so you can't even sneak up on it. Decidueye doesn't miss, and can prime and fire its bow in only 1/10 of a second, so this fight's likely going to be over before I even get a chance to lift a finger. Robin Hood is alive, and he's a big ass owl. I lose against all three of them. Litten may not be defensively sound, but it can spew fireballs, so it's going to be one of those odd ones where if I land a hit, I should be fine, but if it scorches me, I'm likely to eat shit. Torracat is just a small, fire-breathing lion. Oh, and also it's able to bend an iron bar in a single punch. What the shit? Unlike Litten, I don't think I stand any sort of chance, because I'm not an iron bar. I'm basically the exact same size and weight as Incineroar, but he shoots fire and can destroy metal with some sweet fucking backhands. Macho Lion Randy Savage is going to hit me with the sweetest German suplex before melting my skull into my shoes. Litten is a fair fight, and I lose to Torracat and Incineroar. Turns out the actual dangerous part of Popplio's bubbles is the pop. It's super forceful and more than likely enough to knock over a person, but I think that compared to Litten, I have more of a chance. The little dude isn't exactly that athletic due to having, you know, no legs. Brionne is surprisingly a good athlete with some solid dodging ability. I don't think this makes it a straight up loss, but it'll definitely be harder than Popplio because it can fire balloons at sort of a semi-automatic rate as well. While the Dex is hesitant to give Primarina the win, I'm willing to give it to her because she's definitely stronger than the other two, and those balloons are definitely capable of exploding bitches like me into pieces. I have the advantage against Popplio, Brionne has the advantage against me, and I lose against Primarina. Pick-a-Peck can drill holes into trees at a rate of 16 pecks a second, so it's definitely gonna fucking hurt, but it's still a teensy tiny bird, so I'm gonna swat him out of the air like a fly. Get fucked, Pick-a-Peck. Trumbeak may be a bigger Picky-Peck, but it's still a small ass bird with some hollow ass bones. I'm gonna grab its stupid beak and swing it into the ground until it's a paint sample. And all of a sudden, it's a boulder destroying, heat seeking missile. I hate this dumbass franchise and its jumping in realism. Trumbeak was a bird. And now Toucannon is a flaming asshole with the power to melt a man into a pile of goo. I win against Picky-Peck and Trumbeak, and I lose to Toucannon. Yungoos is a wily Pokemon. It prefers fresh, living prey and will bite absolutely anything. Looking at its teeth, this could be a problem. If Yungoos bites the wrong vein or anything like that, I could just bleed out and die. But ultimately, the more than likely scenario is that I'm going to kick him square in the head, which would kill him instantly. Out of respect though, I will award him with a chance because he does technically have one. Gumshoos is the scariest thing a Pokemon can be. Bipedal. All of a sudden, I'm dealing with a bigger Yungoos with better hair and the ability to grab me so it can aim its chomps better. He's still oddly light, but this fucker is definitely more dangerous, so I'm going to say we're at evens here. I have the advantage against Yungoos, and Gumshoos is a fair fight. Grubbin is weirdly dangerous. Like, he can snap thick tree branches, dig underground super quick, and his thread is really good at slowing people down, so this is a scary fight for just a Grubbin. I'm only giving him a small chance because his tininess is unfortunately a huge drawback for him, but if he catches me by surprise, he could very well do some mean damage. Chargebug apparently has a really sturdy shell, which will be a problem already, but luckily for him, the Dex has explicitly mentioned that he can discharge the electricity stores. Hooray! So all he needs to do is get his big old jaws on me and just start fucking chomping away. If I hold him like a stinky baby, then there's nothing he can do, but I still have to figure out how to kill him, which would be tough, so I'ma say this is fair. Vikavolt literally goes around railgunning bird Pokemon for target practice while zooming through the air at high speeds. What the fuck do you want me to do here? Win? It ain't happening. I'm fighting a living electrical cannon. You come fight him, then tell me how that goes. I have the advantage over Grubbin, Chargebug's a fair fight, and I lose against Vikavolt. Crabrawler may be small, but this guy is the only one other than Hitmonchan that shows up with equipment designed to beat ass. I know that that's actually just his pincers, but the little boxing glove look is awesome. I actually quite like him. He's got pretty good defense and offense just by being a speedy boy with some quick punches. However, we just need to look at the fact that he weighs 7 kilograms to figure out how it's going to go. It doesn't matter how good you are at blocking. If I kick him, he's taking off. However, it'd be insulting to say he didn't stand a chance when Yungoos did.
Okay, so Crabominable can destroy ice walls and fire icy bubbles that slow you down. It punches without thinking, and there are records, like it's a fact, that he has turned back avalanches by punching them. Also, it can cut off its pincers and fire them like rockets? Who the hell wrote this shit? Did Professor Kukui sign off on this, or did he just write it himself? Either way, I'm gonna fucking die. I have the advantage against Crabrawler, and I lose to Crabominable. Bile style Oricorio can just straight up shoot fire, so I lose, but also its dance moves are so fucking sick that it, quote, causes its enemies to combust in both heart and mind. Pom-Pom style Oricorio is a quick bird that will just smack the shit out of you with some electrified punches, so yet another loss. Stop my heart, destroy my brain, shut off my eyes if it really wants. There's not much I can do to stop it. Pau style Oricorio just dances gently and then blasts you with psychic energy like a dickhead. Psychic's another one of those types where if it says they can use psychic stuff, I'm fucked. Cause like they can just pick me up and throw me against the wall or snap my neck and so on and so on. Sensu style Oricorio can summon the actual fucking dead, like it says this in the dex, which is bad for me since there's no defined limit of how many dead it can summon. If it can summon even one bad thing, I'm gonna die. Bam, this was actually the resting ground of a Beware and now I am dead. I lose against all 4 forms of Oricorio. I would fucking destroy Cutiefly in literal seconds. I love Cutiefly, but it is one of the smallest and lightest Pokemon in existence and doesn't do anything with any sort of special powers. It's literally just a bee-fly. And Ribombee is exactly the same as Cutiefly, just very slightly bigger. So they're gonna perish in the same way. I feel bad though, because unlike with other Pokemon, I feel like I'm killing innocents. They're so cute. I win against Cutiefly and Ribombee. Rockruff is a puppy, so that's just a win, right? Wrong. While yes, the chances are I'm gonna win, this is still a sharp-toothed canine with a hell of an attitude. Usually it's friendly, but put this boy in a battle and he locks the fuck in. Like I said, he has a very low chance, but he bites the wrong thing in my arm or something, and I will simply bleed out. Okay, so all the Lycanrocs have different dex entries, so allow me to sum them all up real quick. Super smart dog that aims for weak points with rocks as sharp as knives. Asshole who will take as much damage as it needs to deliver a headbutt that can crush bone and destroy boulders, and an intensely ferocious Pokemon that knows how to fight real good and with the same knife rocks as midday form. I have the advantage over Rockruff and I lose to Lycanroc. Okay, so Wishiwashi is obviously super weak and gonna lose, but its school form is feared by Gyarados and called the Demon of the Sea, so that's quite possibly one of the worst Pokemon to fight ever. But is that still a 1v1? In the games it counts as a 1v1, but that's technically a lot of fish. So I'm going to leave this one up to you. If you think the school form breaks the rules of the 1v1, then I win. And if you think the game logic of it not being a 1v1 means it should be allowed to fight in its school form, then I lose. So for the time being, Wishiwashi is to be decided. Marini is very small, very light, and apparently the spike on its head is where the poison comes from, so the main thing I have to do is avoid the top of the head. This is super easy due to Marini being a very seafaring creature and not having the legs to move properly. However, the chance is always there, so I have to give it to them. Toxapex is apparently very good at using its tentacles to walk, and now it can shoot toxic spikes and administer a toxin so potent that even a Wailord will be suffering for 3 straight days. It's still a bulky powerhouse, and it's just covered in knives basically, so yeah, I stand no chance at all. I have the advantage against Marini, and I lose to Toxapex. The dex says that Mudbray can carry 50 times its own body weight, which is very impressive. Let's just have a look at how much 110 kilograms. Mudbray can carry 5,500 kilograms, are you insane? He can literally carry 5.5 primal Groudons without even flinching. He wins. And now the big horse can drag 10 primal Groudons for 3 days and nights without sweating. He can also kick large trucks into scrap with just one kick. He's 8 feet tall and he nearly weighs a whole primal Groudon by himself. The hell are these creatures? Because they aren't any horses I know. I lose against both of these muddy boys. The Bubble Boy is very small, very light, and only has use of 3 out of his 6 legs. Because I didn't know this, but it turns out that it's using 3 legs to support its head bubble. So I'm fighting a little dude that has very little ways to hurt me other than just smashing into me. Realistically, this one is mine. Araquanid is really good at drowning people with bubbles, whether they be the one on its head or the ones it shoots out. If that doesn't work, then it can just bite the shit out of you. However, since it doesn't have any explicit strength feats and the fact that we're very similar heights and weights, I'm only going to give it the advantage. Sure, it has more chance of winning, but I could genuinely beat the shit out of him. I just have to have a little luck. I win against Jupiter, and Araquanid has the advantage. Scarlet and Violet really tried doing me dirty, because Fomantis was just a plant that did nothing, until Gen 9 where they just randomly mention its ability to fire solar beams if you piss it off. Now despite how dangerous that might sound, it doesn't really change the outcome. Yeah, if I get hit by a solar beam, it's gonna fucking hurt, but I don't think Fomantis has the power to kill with it. So you know what? I'm giving this one to myself. I could kick the shit out of a Fomantis. I know it calls them sickles, but Lurantis is just grass type Scyther because those shits will cut you in half. And also the beams that Lurantis fires off can cleave through metal plates, so this jumped from a win to a loss pretty quickly. I win against Fomantis and I lose against Lurantis. Morlul can put people to sleep with its glowing spores, so obviously I lose. Just kidding. Look at it. Morlul is so tiny. It can only put things to sleep as a defense mechanism because it doesn't have the strength to do anything about it when you're asleep. I'm gonna boot him. Now, Shinotic also puts you to sleep, but this difference is he sucks your life out through its fingertips, so I actually will lose this one because there's not much I can do to stop the sleep, and once I'm out, that's it. I'm fucked. And imagine that being the last thing you see before you fall asleep and die. No thank you. I win against Morlul, and I lose against Shinotic. Salandit don't seem to go for prey as large as a human, they more so go for bug Pokemon, or just anything under 4 foot by the looks of it. They try to take on Spinder, but since their tactic of taking someone down is to make them dizzy with poisonous gas, and Spinder is always dizzy, in a 1v1 between the two, always bet on Spinder. What I'm trying to say though is that this is a fair fight. It has a little fire, and the poisonous gas is really powerful for knocking someone out, so if I can squash it before I run out of breath, I'll be fine, but if not, I could be dealt with. Now Salazzle is bigger and more dangerous, being able to spew flames out of its palms, but if given just a small window I could get in there and wrestle it to death. I don't stand a huge chance, what with the poison and fire again, but there is a chance. Salandit is a fair fight and Salazzle has the advantage. Now we all know the threat of Beware, but is Stuffle even close to as dangerous? Well, yes actually. This thing is still a fucking beast who can snap thick trees easy peasy, and it can apparently send a pro wrestler sprawling, which I think should say dead. But hey, who am I to judge the Pokedex? I genuinely think that despite the huge size difference between us, the strength difference means I am just finished. Beware is Beware. We all know that it's a life-ending Pokemon. It delivers hugs that are so strong, quote, many trainers have left this world after their spines were squashed by its hug. People call it the most dangerous Pokemon in Alola, and its habitat is off limits to the public. Why do I even try anymore? I lose against the two cuddly bears. Bounsweet is constantly emitting an aroma that attracts bird Pokemon, but apparently it's too stupid to even care that this usually results in its death. Put me against a Bounsweet and it is over for the tiny little fruit thing. Steenie's sepals, which are the green things on her head, have toughened through evolution and she can now play with bird Pokemon without worrying about death. However, they are only described as quite painful, which is not enough for me to relinquish the win. Tsareena is a dark queen who takes pleasure from the pain of others. If she beats you in a fight, she celebrates by kicking you and laughing, and also her kicks are so powerful that not only will they wound your body, but your soul as well. She can knock out kickboxing champions in a single kick. I'm good. I win against Bounsweet and Steenie, and I lose against Tsareena. I quite like Comfey, but it's literally just a bunch of flowers and a tiny fairy. You know it's bad when I could quite literally eat the Pokemon with no issues. It's so cute though, I would feel very bad about it. I win against Comfey. Oranguru is actually taller than the average orangutan, but he actually weighs less than a fully grown male orangutan. So I was wondering about whether I stood a chance, because you know how it is with apes and shit. They be strong. And it turns out that the average orangutan is only 5 to 7 times stronger than a human, so it could just rip my fucking head off and that would be the end of it. I lose against Oranguru. Let's say, for the sake of convenience, that Passimian does not get to use the hard berry it carries around in this fight, and instead go based purely off what we can see. Okay, he's 6'7", and lemurs are often extremely aggressive to humans, gotcha. Okay, I think I can come to a conclusion. Passimian is gonna fucking rip me to shit. Also, there's certain species of lemur capable of carrying 10 times their own body weight. I lose against Passimian. The hardest part about fighting a Wimpod would be catching the fucking thing. Bitchpod over here wastes no time in getting away from you as fast as possible, the millisecond it realizes you're near. However, it has no method of fighting back, so it's a done deal. Golisopod is like Wimpod, but bigger and stronger and cooler and braver. His shell is as hard as diamonds and he can cut through air, which doesn't even make sense. He will apparently do anything to win and will more than likely eat you afterwards because he's just such a Giga Chad. I win against Wimpod and I lose against Golisopod. Sandygast is kinda like that immortal snail. The dude can't really be killed, being, you know, a pile of sand, but he's so slow that even people with sand in their eyes can escape. So for the sake of the fact that he couldn't really do anything to me, but I can't do anything to him, I'm gonna call this one a draw. Power Sand is still immortal, but this time if he gets his hands on you, then he's gonna pull you under the ground and drain you of your life. Also, in a totally metal move, he can fire the bones of previous victims at you like cannonballs, so unlike Sandygast, there's nothing stopping him from just killing me. Sandygast is a draw, and I lose against Power Sand. Pyukumuku is a funny little guy. He makes a silly noise and shoots out his internal organs to beat you up. Small issue, he's a teensy boy, and if there's a tradition based on throwing you back into the ocean, then I get the feeling you're not particularly good at defending yourself. I love him, but our cucumber friend is gonna die. I win against Pyukumuku. Type Null is specifically wearing a mask to reduce its power, but I'm going to tell you right now that if you think you could take on a 120 kg, 6'3" monster with sharp claws and a battering ram on his fucking head, then you need to get some smelling salts and wake the fuck up. There's no way any regular human is taking that thing down. So removing the mask made Silvally 20 kg lighter, but it also made him 7'7" tall. How the fuck did he grow over a whole foot? What? Regardless, Silvally is exactly the same as Type Null, but with greater speed. Good luck, idiots. I lose against Type Null and Silvally. Minior only end up on the ground when their shell becomes too heavy and gravity decides that their ozone time is up. But upon smashing into the ground, their shell apparently breaks apart a bit, so I'm going to assume they can get around fine. So we have a rock that if its shell falls off, it just dies by being exposed to air, and that is decently heavy. If it rams into me and hits the wrong thing, it might just blunt force trauma me to death. But if I can catch it, I could probably pry it out of its shell. So for those reasons, I'm saying Minior is a fair fight. The dude's ability is comatose. I'm gonna win. He's small, he's light, he's asleep. And for any of you anime fans, the dex mentions nothing about some skillful sleep movement, it just talks about sleeping. I'm gonna stomp his fucking head in. I win against Komala. I've never felt more disrespected by anything more than the fact that Turtonator has literal explosive diarrhea and could kill me doing his best impression of a seagull flying over a recently washed car. And also his back explodes and his face spews fire and poison, so yeah, fuck that. I lose against Turtonator. Now Togedemaru is an odd one since he can store his own electricity but not much, so he uses other Pokemon or lightning strikes to charge up. However, I feel it would be ridiculous to assume he didn't have the capacity to make enough electricity for one decent attack. It does know how to fire its electricity and it comes with some knife-like back spines for good measure. I think that Togedemaru should get the advantage though since it can't actually aim. It just shoots that shit everywhere, so because of all these reasons, Togedemaru has the advantage. Mimikyu is actually just a really sad Pokemon and I personally don't know if I could bring myself to hurt them. And even if I could, it is an unstoppable rage monster if you fuck with its cloth. It'll take you down even if it kills it. However, Mimikyu has what I would call a Mortal Kombat fatality. If it removes its rag and I see what's under, I'm literally guaranteed to die, so yeah, just kill me now. I lose against Mimikyu. Bruxish is something I would take great pride in killing. However, it appears that I'm not going to be getting what I want since Bruxish is very fucked up. Basically, Bruxish can stun prey with psychokinesis, meaning I won't be able to move, and then it supposedly grinds you to mush with its teeth. It can even get through shell to shell, which can repel any attack. So all I'm hearing is, I'm fucked. I lose against Bruxish. Drampa is a super nice dude, and as long as you don't piss it off, your safety is practically guaranteed. However, I don't know if you've ever been here before, but this series can be boiled down to pissing off Pokemon in my spare time and suffering the consequences. Drampa will burn someone's house to the ground if they bully a child that Drampa's friends with. Now I may not be bullying a child, but if I try to hurt Drampa, chances are I'm going to be eating shit. Also, he's nearly 10 foot tall and weighs almost 200 kg. I lose against Drampa. Delmise is a 12-foot tall steel anchor whose main prey a fucking Wailord. How do I compete with that? I never stood a chance, but if you're capable of one-shotting a whale, then I genuinely don't know what I'm even doing here. I've always liked Delmise, and reading his dex entries has made me love him even more, even though he's going to make me look like red spray paint. I lose against Delmise. Despite his teensy tiny nature, Jangmo-o is pretty impressive. Now, I'm not saying it stands much of a chance, but he's got claws, a hooked jaw, and its scales are as hard as metal. They will always fight you, even if you're stronger, and they grow up fighting. I respect Jangmo-o enough to give it a chance. Hakumo-o is clearly bigger and scalier, meaning I'm going to have a much harder time breaking through that defense. They've gotten meaner too, but with his height and weight still both being below mine, there is a chance for me. Kamo-o is shockingly smaller and lighter than me, but with an uppercut that can send his opponent straight into the sky, I'm going to concede the win to him. His claws are bigger, his scales are everywhere, there's not much I could really do, even though I'd be looking down at him. I have the advantage over Jangmo-o, Hakumo-o has the advantage over me, and I lose to Kamo-o. Too quick for the eye to follow and able to summon thunderclouds, Tapu Koko is as badass as always, and is gonna blow me into fucking pieces. I think the Tapus are some of the coolest legends recently, and Koko is obviously the head honcho. Even though he's gonna kill me, we can still be friends afterwards. I lose to Tapu Koko. I really have nothing to go on for the strengths and powers of Tapu Lele. The dex is only interested in its love for flowers and its capacity for hate. Tapu Lele is very openly cruel. They do not try to hide it and they feel no guilt for being the way they are. So do I assume that it has powers that could kill me since, you know, it's a deity? Or do I take the Pokedex at its word that it's just an asshole that likes flowers? As a sign of respect, I'm giving it the win, but if you feel like that's wrong, feel free to keep that as your personal headcanon. I lose against Tapu Lele. Tapu Bulu is far less vague of a loss than Tapu Lele. The dude pulls trees out of the ground and swings them around like a baseball bat, sending you and your soul into the stratosphere. Another thing he likes doing is commanding plants to hold you down while he rams you with his horns. I never stood a chance really because he's also over 6 feet tall. I lose against Tapu Bulu. Tapu Fini controls water and is known to cause terrible calamities to those that recklessly approach it. Being able to control water, Tapu Fini also has a propensity to create thick fogs, which has led it to be feared by the people of Pony Island. So we're dealing with a creature that can just fucking blast me with hydro pumps, essentially, and if they close their shell, it's also a flying swordfish, because that is hell of a point. Not quite as obvious as Tapu Bulu, but Tapu Fini is gonna wreck my shit. I lose against Tapu Fini. Cosmog is, well, it's gaseous, so I just can't actually do anything to it. It'd be like fighting air. It sort of just gets blown about in the wind and dicks around. Another thing, it can just straight up teleport wherever it wants, so I can't do anything to it, and it can't do anything to me, so congratulations Cosmog, you are my first legendary draw. Now, Cosmoem is actually motionless. It's essentially a cocoon and will not move to defend itself or attack, so this is an easy win, right? Wrong. Cosmoem's shell is harder than any known material in the world, and I can't even pick it up since it weighs 999.9 kg or 2,204 pounds. So we have another thing that can't do anything to me, and I can't do anything to it. The Cosmog line is pretty weird, honestly, and the big dogs will be separate shorts. Cosmog and Cosmoem are both draws. Do you think I stand a chance against the 11-foot lion sun god whose light can make any darkness look like midday and make you mistake it for the actual sun? No. I was screwed the second this thing opened a portal from another dimension and jumped through. And oh yeah, it can also do that, so yay for me. Now Lunala is not as explicitly busted as Solgaleo is in the dex, but also Lunala is still a 13-foot moonbat deity, and I would be lying if I didn't say it terrified me. You really want that thing swooping down at you? I flinch at pigeons. I'll shit myself if that thing dives for me. I lose against Solgaleo and Lunala. Nihiligo is a bit weird honestly and definitely creepy. Scientists are unsure of its sentience, but it sometimes behaves like a young girl. It's most definitely a parasite and can take over a host's mind to an extent. It can make them act irrational, and presumably it doesn't let you take it off. It produces a strong neurotoxin, so it's likely that after a while of just sitting there and pumping you full of mind melters, you'll just die. And also, despite not being mentioned anywhere else, the official Sun and Moon site declared that Nihiligo was made of a strange glass-like substance, so you can add that too. I lose against Nihiligo. Buzzwole is the funniest Pokemon. Look at it. It's a super buff mosquito. That's amazing. However, he's nearly 8 feet tall and can destroy dump trucks in one punch. Also, it flexes all the time, but nobody knows if it's showing off or trying to threaten you. I, for one, feel both of those things. And I know I don't use the anime as a source of information, but I've already lost, so I might as well add on the fact that he drank a fucking Snorlax. I lose against Buzzwole. Great power? Terrific speeds? Someone tell Kukui that just because it's fast and strong does not mean it is either great or terrific. This is bad, very bad, and if I come across Pheromosa, I assume it would be like trying to fight a motorbike with fists that can destroy concrete. My only hope is that it finds me disgusting and refuses to touch me. However, if I threatened its life in any way, I'm sure it would stop caring. I lose against Pheromosa. Circuitry is a 12-foot, 100 kg bundle of wires that are just filled with electricity, and they can shoot it, oh yes they can. Not that I think it even need to, since it could probably just end my life with one wickedly shocking backhand, or stab me with one of the many prongs it has on the end of its limbs. I didn't really stand a chance as soon as he was that tall. I lose against Circuitry. Celesteela is like one of the most unfair fights in history. It's a 30-foot rocket woman that weighs 1,000 kg and can fly through the air at high speeds, burn forests down just by taking off, and is obviously made of steel. Stand back, Skarmory and Corviknight, you've got some stiff competition. I lose against Celesteela. Kartana is teensy tiny and weighs absolutely nothing, but he's apparently quite speedy and cut down a gigantic steel tower in one swift slice, so realistically I could destroy him if I catch him and restrict all of his movement. I'll be fine. But if he can get even one swipe on me, I'm getting some body parts removed. So this is going to be a hot take, but this has always been a series about whether I can and not whether I realistically would. So, Kartana has the advantage. I mean, like, what am I supposed to say? I lose? Yeah, that's kind of obvious. So Guzzlord's an 18-foot behemoth that's constantly eating. A couple of things it's eaten are whole buildings, and also for good measure, mountains. I never stood a chance. He's built like a crab and has the appetite of a Saiyan. A dangerous combo for sure. I lose against Guzzlord. Necrozma is 7'10", which I did not know, and it weighs 230 kg, so already I just lose because of how fucking big it is. So this is bad enough, but apparently the dude just does not stop firing laser beams everywhere. So you know, I lose. And also, while these forms are inaccessible in 1v1s, I'll just say, loss, loss, super loss. I lose against Necrozma. Magearna has no moves and no bitches. Yes, it's made of steel or something close to it, but all you gotta do is rip that stupid little fake soul out of its chest and destroy it. I hate Magearna and would more than likely kick its ass. Probably out of sheer spite, but I suppose it could do some damage with blunt force trauma. So, I have the advantage over Magearna. Marshadow's got that Sub-Zero moveset. You know where Sub-Zero just falls backwards into the ground and appears behind you? Marshadow can jump into shadows to avoid being spotted, and he's got insanely good martial arts skills. However, he is small, so I'd say he certainly has the advantage, but I could literally just kick him really hard a bunch and that would be about it. But obviously, he's definitely running away with this if he just keeps getting the drop on me and bashing the shit out of me. Marshadow has the advantage. He has 2 Pokédex entries, and they had the audacity to make one of them talk about how he loves spraying his poison ropes all over you and laughing about it. This is obviously not great, but Poipole is also still a whole-ass baby, and I will rock its shit if it gets anywhere near me. I'll say this is a fair fight. Okay, now Poipole is an 11-foot wasp that can fire hundreds of litres of sticky poisonous liquid at you that I assume will just melt you into a little puddle. Beedrill must see Naganadel and just shit himself. I know I did. Poipole is a fair fight, and I lose against Naganadel. Stakataka is an 18-foot brick shithouse. Why was this a necessary inclusion? I like Stakataka, but he's definitely going to ruin my day at the very least, and the rest of my life, because it'll only continue for 10 more seconds until he crushes me. He could just stick a leg out and boot me into the horizon. This is unfair on a multiversal level. I lose against Stakataka. So this is exactly how this fight's going to go. I grab Blacephalon, he blows his fucking head to pieces, I die, he lives, or as the Dex politely puts it, he robs me of my vitality. I knew this wasn't good the second I saw him snaking his clowny ass towards me. I lose against Blacephalon. Zeraora is disgustingly strong in the Dex. He's as fast as lightning and electrifies his claws to tear your limbs off when he catches you. And even though it's super unlikely, cause, you know, fast as lightning, if you dodge somehow, you'll just be slapped by some flying sparks, killing you anyways. I lose against Zeraora. Meltan's body is molten steel, but I don't know if that's good or bad. Since it's molten, I can actually make a dent in it, but also since it's molten, does it really feel pain? And also, can it control all of it, or only when it's attached to him? There are too many questions for me to confidently give a victor, so for those reasons, I believe this is a draw. Nope. Meltan's a draw, and I lose against Melmetal.